So I'm back from vacation and I had a very good couple of weeks. I have to say I enjoyed seeing the beauty and the majesty of the mountains in the Canadian Rockies. It's really magnificent up there. Also had the opportunity to have some peace and quiet and serenity in the southern Bahamas. So I went kind of from one extreme to the other. Also had some great days at home, which I just thoroughly enjoyed, really very, very much. Had a list of things in my mind that I wanted to accomplish, and I got none of them done. Instead, I just enjoyed being in the presence of the Lord and just being home, doing things that kind of just really like to do that I don't often have that opportunity to do. Just being unscheduled was really quite a gift. I was also very relieved when I came back and that there were no fires to put out, because my wonderful associates and parochial vicars did such a great job when I was gone that I just was able to kind of come right back in and get right back to work. So they did a wonderful job while I was gone, and I'm very grateful to them as well. Something that I found when I was away kind of interesting was to be a little more connected to the news. I don't always have that opportunity. I try my best, even with the amount of ways we have today, to get in touch with what's going on in the world. And obviously there were political conventions, which I would have liked to have avoided, but somehow it shows up in the headlines. There were some, always kind of joyful type human interest stories that usually I don't have the time to read, and I enjoyed reading them as well. Something I found particularly disturbing, though, was the killing of the priest in France, and that was in the end of July. I thought how very, very sad that this man was celebrating Mass in the middle of Mass, and he was really brutally murdered. I don't know how else to put it. Very, very tragic, I think, for him. I think an act of terrorism, an act of violence. Something that first and foremost what comes to my mind is the incredible disrespect for human life. The disrespect for human life, that really every life is precious. Every life is unique. Every life is a reflection and an image and likeness of God. So any attack on human life is really just kind of inexcusable. It's unnecessary. And I think we have to be very honest about that. We have to respect each and every life and allow that life to be able to flourish and to grow. But then when something happens that's an act of violence, it makes it even worse because it's just so unexpected. And it was shocking, and I thought really very, very much in this particular case for this man, how sad for him. And then I thought about it in light of today's gospel. And that really tells me that, you don't know the day or the hour. And what will you be doing at that particular time? And for him, as a priest of God, he was celebrating Mass. So what a beautiful moment for him, really, to have been connected with the Lord. He couldn't have been doing anything better. That at his time when evil struck and when death came to him, that he was doing something that he had dedicated his life to. And I think that there's a really important note to that, because it's really a wake-up call for all of us to say, what are we doing with our time? And if we do not know the day or the hour, what will we be doing when God does come calling? Or sadly, if something unexpected happens, what will we be doing? Will we be doing something that God is proud of us for? Or will we be in a place maybe of darkness, or a place a little separated from God? See, there's really no running from God. It's kind of interesting to know God knows everything that we do. Just think about it for a moment. He knows every word we've spoken, from our very first word till the last word that's formed on our lips. God knows every action that we've taken. He knows every place that we've visited. God knows every conversation that we have had. He knows every correspondence that we have ever penned from our hand. He knows what we have filled our mind with in terms of learning or studying. God knows every place that we've been to on the internet. God knows everything about us. He also knows what missed opportunities we had. He also can look at each one of us and say, wow, I gave that person a lot. To whom much is given, much is to be expected. I gave that person a lot, and they really didn't do what they should have done with it, or do the best with what they were given. And that's not meant to be something that's scary, because our God has incredible mercy. He knows every labor that we have done. He knows every victory we've had over a passion. And he also knows every time we have had to repress our anger. He knows when we've struggled with passive aggressiveness, and he knows when we've been diligent in trying to be the champion he has called us to be. So I say that really not to scare us, because it's not meant to be scary, but the bottom line is one day there is judgment. One day there's going to be accountability for our actions, for what we have done and for what we have failed to do. And so really, when we think about that judgment day, that day or the hour that nobody knows, whether it's God taking the whole world and bringing it back to himself in a second coming of Christ, whether it be the day he comes knocking on our door and says, welcome home. When we think about that day, what do we think about? Do we see it as a day to be scared about? To be worried about, oh no, what's he going to think about what I've done? You know what, folks? He already knows. There may be that opportunity to recount our lives. I often think when we stand before God face to face, he's going to ask us one question. Just one question, simple. He's going to say, how did you love? Well, we can look at that day as something that is perhaps a judgment and accountability, or we can see it as a day when a friend embraces a friend. And I think that's really what the Lord is saying to us, and maybe the message he wants to give us today in 2016 is, how do we see our relationship with him? What are we doing with our gifts and talents? Are we knowing, loving, and serving God in the best way possible? Remember, to whom much has been given, much is to be expected, materially and also in ourselves, the things that we do not see. What do we do with what we have, so that when we do stand before him face to face, we can be held accountable? On that day when he sees us, will we be scared, or will we be joyful as a friend meets a friend? What will we be doing?